Holly coming to you from Backpacking Bible. In today's episode, I'm going to introduce you to my carnivore friend, Emily, and she's going to share with you her journey of weight loss and where she's at today, how she got there. Hello, Holly coming to you from Backpacking Bible. I do carnivore hiking videos, and you can expect to see videos about 2 to 3 times a week until I hit the Appalachian Trail in May. At that point, I'll be doing videos 4 to 5 days a week, and make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below so you can catch all of them. Glad to have you on the adventure.
So Emily, thank you for coming on today, and I just want to allow you to open up, introduce yourself, and tell me, I guess, what first drew you to the carnivore way of eating?
Carnivore, yeah. So I met Holly on a group that that I'm very involved with, where we do a lot of helping people getting started with carnivore. So I've been helping people start carnivore for a couple of years now, and it's become a passion for me. And I'm pretty new to carnivore myself. I'm only 2.5 years into eating an all-meat diet. But what's so interesting about this community is we have real icons in the space. Kelly Hogan's one that comes to mind. She's going on 15 years of a meat-only diet, and she's absolutely thriving. And she has lost, very similar to me, she's lost 130 pounds and has stayed at a very healthy, active, muscular, strong weight now for, all these years. And so that was my journey, is that I started with fasting, which I'm very, very passionate about fasting. I think it's such an important ancestral tool for us to use for healing when it's done correctly. And I also was using fasting, and I started with a ketogenic or, probably a Mediterranean or low carb. And I had kind of eased myself lower and lower and lower on the carbs. And what I noticed when I was doing keto is that I was still very addicted to keto treats. So anything that had the fat and the sweet together, I couldn't stop. And I was great when I was on my fast. I learned how to do extended fasting, all different types of fasts. But when I would come off of my fast, I still would lose control with food, and I did not have food freedom. Even though I was not eating carbohydrates, the sweeteners combined with fats was sinking my progress, and was sinking my confidence, and was sinking my belief that I would maintain a 100-pound weight loss. My initial weight loss was from 300 to 200. I was hanging out in the 190s for a long time and really couldn't bust through them. And my friend had tried carnivore, and she had talked about how she had absolutely no cravings, zero cravings. And I couldn't really say that, because when I was still fussing with the keto treats and the nut butters and the fat bombs, I still had cravings. I craved, and the fatty coffees. I craved all of those things. Now, I still eat very high fat. I thrive eating high fat. I just don't combine sweet with it. So what happened for me was I started the diet in 2021. What brought me to it was I had a holiday season of absolute binging, out of control food addiction to keto candies. I had purchased, Russell Stover makes sugar-free candies, and I was just purchasing a ton of those, like caramels. And I was just still so food focused and food addicted. So I wanted that extra experience. I wanted to know what it was like to not have cravings and to not have food control me anymore. That was why I started. So I started January 2021, and so I'm 2 years plus. But why I stayed was because of the results, the energy, the food freedom, the peace, the calm. We have a lot of things that we talk about in the carnivore community. We talk about carnivore zen. We talk about carnivore calm. For some people, this is the best way for them to make peace with food. And once you get into it, you realize there's so much variety that you can still have. So I still eat, I still eat breads that I make, carnivore breads. I still eat pancakes, waffles, chaffles, crepes. There's so many things that you can make out of animal foods. So for me, it hasn't been boring. I have had I still have carnivore hot drinks. I still have a little something that feels fancy to me, a little sparkly something, so I don't know. It hasn't been a deprivation to me at all so far. So I do feel that carnivore is, probably the cutting edge of low carb keto Mediterranean. And we can see this in all the conferences. I now get to speak at conferences about it and get to educate people and help people out with it. So it's just kind of it's the ultimate elimination diet, all the way, so much so that a lot of people will go actually to beef only if they're really needing deep healing, if they're in a crisis. So a lot of my clients and people that I have helped put their diseases into remission have needed 100% beef, just beef and tallow. So ruminant meats only. But there's a ton, so there's a huge subset of people that are using this to heal cancers, to deal with epilepsy, to deal with MS, to deal with arthritis, anything inflammatory, right? Anything inflammatory. What we give them and what I coach is fasting and carnivore. And so carnivore is the best way you can eat if you're fighting autoimmune or inflammatory issues, because it doesn't irritate the system how other foods do. And so the other foods and the other end products of the foods will add to the inflammatory issues that you have, and it will just exacerbate it and make it worse. And so sometimes when you take all of that irritation out and you take the vegetables out, which can be very hard on people that are struggling with an autoimmune, then oftentimes we'll see things really turn around for them. But sometimes it's just people that was like me. I didn't have an autoimmune that I knew of. I just was still overweight and was food addicted and was dealing with binging eating disorder, was dealing with just years of depression and mood, was dealing with lack of confidence, was dealing with lack of energy. So I really see a lot of different types of folks that this diet really helps from. And then you can go all the way to an animal-based, or what they call it, hyper carnivore, where you're just eating a lot of meat and a lot of your calories and a lot of your consumption is coming from meat. And then you have to fine tune and figure out what are the things that can also be included that won't cause detrimental health effects, or that won't cause poor eating behaviors where you're going back into addictive type of behavior. So lots of different colors of carnivore. I choose 100% carnivore. That's just the way for me, because I'm what's known as an abstainer. I don't do well moderating and having a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So my road is definitely the abstainer road. But yeah, so now I'm maintaining a 150-pound weight loss. I was started, at 300 several times throughout my life, and had all kinds of issues related to that. I had joint pain, immobility, knee pain, torn meniscus in my knee. I had depression and mood issues, which are much, much better now. And I definitely was having a lot of weird medical symptoms. I was scared of the doctor. I didn't want to know what was wrong. And I knew I'm a mom of 4 kids, and I started having kids later in life. I had my kids ages 31 through 41 for me. And I just could tell that the road that I was on with the morbid obesity and all of the accompanying inflammatory issues, that I was taking a gamble with actually being able to be around for a long, long time for my kids and be active and be able to do things with them. And so that was kind of my motivator and my why. But I couldn't, because when you're addicted, it's an addiction. Addiction isn't something that you can control, but carnivore was what got me out of food addiction and got me to a place where I could really thrive and feel good.
That is amazing. You've answered every question that popped up in my mind. I'm like, oh, there she goes. So what has your family thought about your journey and your transformation?
Yeah. When we first started, we've been doing it quite a while. So we first started with keto, and really my main motivation with keto was the work of Dr. Perlmutter, where he really showed us how healing to folks on the autism spectrum, or a depression actually is a mental health, is a brain. He's like a brain expert. He's a neurosurgeon. And so learning about his work with keto is what kind of got me into keto, because I was seeing some things with my family that I thought, I think they're struggling with this. I think they're struggling with this, even like an anxiety thing or something like that. That was what my motivation was. So when I came to Joel and said, sold him on the keto thing, it's like, this is for our children's mental health is what this is for. My kids were kind of teenager age at that time, which is a big time that stuff's coming up anyways in that realm. And so I think he was willing, because he knew what it was for and he knew what it was about. And so we switched to keto in probably about 2019, and we were incorporating fasting. And him and I, mostly me, my husband's a very normal weight person, so he really doesn't need much of it, but he leans into it a little bit from time to time. And then so it was 2 years later when we switched to carnivore. He thought it was nuts. Like, he just thought, oh, it's another phase. She won't stick with it, And so he's like, no skin off my teeth, because it won't last. And the kiddos, one of my daughters, they were teenagers during that time, getting into late teenagers, became actually very interested. And so she read my Judy Cho book, and she became the zealot at the table. And she said, did you know that cheese has casomorphine in it and you're addicted to it? And, she tell us about the lectins and the anti-nutrients in vegetables. And she became like little walking encyclopedias. It was really cool. She's about 16 at that point. I was like, oh, maybe she was interested in having a degree in psychology, that psychology and nutrition together, and see how nutrition can help. And so I was so thrilled. I had a buddy in the house, right? And then her journey has kind of, she's gotten busy with other things. She's not as, she's very carnivore, but she's not as committed to like spreading that mission and telling that story and things like that. So that has kind of shifted for her, but she's still very interested in psychology and mental health. So I think it'll be great. So she was great because I had a buddy right in the house. My other daughter had a tough time with it. But that was because her body and her adaptation. With carnivore, some people have a really tough adaptation period. And I've actually written a course with my colleague all about adaptation because of this, to try to help people go through things. So she had a hard time with the fats. Her body did not adjust to the fats very well. And she had actually had some gallbladder issues. So I had to do a really different style of carnivore for her. And I had to really lean into the lean to start with, but I always kept exposing her to, ruminant meat, which has that fat in it, which, if you're having gallbladder issues, you might struggle with that for a while. And what we saw is that she actually really healed and came off it and was able to eat a high fat carnivore diet. Yeah. And she's able to eat high fat right now. So they are teenagers, they have big social lives, and they're young adults. And so I know what happens. They're in the back and forth. They've got one foot in every world. When they go out to eat, I know they don't eat carnivore. It's fine. So we don't buy anything non-carnivore. Oh, my husband decided to go carnivore in 2022. So he's over a year carnivore himself, and he has loved that. He's got an incredible body composition, and he's had a lot of benefits from it. So for us as the parents, we only buy carnivore foods. Every once in a while, we probably buy something keto. We do. Yeah. For our daughter, we'll get her something. But so to me, I just feel like we're the ones bringing the food in. So the food at our home, they have like 50 different things that they can choose to eat here that is all carnivore. And so our freezer is stocked, our fridge is stocked. We're constantly bulk cooking, making things for the family. I think that for me as a mom, it's an ongoing challenge to try to make interesting things. I make carnivore lasagna, carnivore pizza, carnivore nachos, so I'm always trying to I'm coming up with tortillas, and my oldest son is allergic to eggs. So that's a real struggle. But we're a big ribeye family. Ribeye goes on sale at our restaurant supply store. We will buy 100 pounds of it and food saver it and put it in individual. And so we have a freezer full of individual ribeye steaks that anybody can go grab whenever they want, stick it in the air fryer, frozen to air fryer. So easy. And we've discovered tri-tip. We can get tri-tip for about $3 a pound. And so we do that. And it's not as good, but it's good. And so we do ribeye, tri-tip steaks in the same way. And we buy the big packages of the ground beef, and we always have taco meat, and just ground beef is always available. So the family is well nourished. The family has wonderful carnivore food available. Chicken, we feed our animals carnivore. And so we're always, they right now are mostly on chicken. The dog's on beef and the cats are on chicken thighs. So I think as a family, we've just figured out the different recipes. I actually wrote a cookbook, so I have a ton of variety of things, and we have my cookbook out on the counter. It's like, okay, you can make something from there, whatever. We do like a chili dog soup it's keto because it has a little bit of mustard in it, a little bit of sugar-free ketchup in it, but it has hot dogs and ground beef and seasonings, and that's a standard for us. So we just have these standard soups, casseroles, dishes, and they're used to it, and they are delicious. And then whatever they do when they're not at home, that's on them. And but they're at home, they're eating carnivore, and they're fine. They like it.
Emily, where can they find that cookbook if they're interested?
Absolutely. It's in the Mighty Networks. Okay. So you'll need to make an account in the Mighty Networks, and it's under Steak and Butter Gang. and it's listed under workshops. It's a high fat carnivore cookbook, but I need to convert it to an Amazon because I need to just have it so people can have it on Amazon. That has not been done yet because I'm actually still wanting to add recipes to it. My goal was to keep adding to it this year and have it right now I think we're at about 70 recipes, and we've got all different categories. Most of it's high fat. I enjoy high fat. So if you had somebody that wanted more lean, you could make some of my stuff and, eat some turkey with it or something. I don't know.
Perfect. I've got one more question for you. You had mentioned a little bit about adaptation periods.
Yes.
What if somebody decides that they would like to explore this way of eating? What type of adaptation phase might they go through, and what are some solutions to have the best outcome?
Yeah, to be able to stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to say, I think that finding support is going to be crucial. I would say that one of the biggest mistakes that people make when starting carnivore is they don't eat enough, because carnivore is so satiating. It's so nutritional. It has the most nutrient dense profile of any other foods. And so, and it actually, it gets you in touch with natural satiety, but people aren't used to that. People are used to a carbohydrate based diet or even vegetables and fruits that keeps that blood sugar going up and down, up and down, up and down. And so they're used to the food making them want more, right? And then they're really used to the processed food, which has no satiation. It's designed to addict you. It's absolutely designed to just make you want more and more and more. And so it depends on kind of where you're coming from. I like crowding out. If you can't stand the thought of going all meat, you can crowd out by increasing meat. And I actually really do love the concept of priming, which has been developed in our challenge. And Raymond's been teaching us about that for a long time. And that's kind of where you overnourish to start with. You kind of get a lot of carnivore foods going in the body to start with, and it helps with that adaptation, and it takes away cravings immediately. So it's like a 2-week period where you're just eating a lot, generously, graciously carnivore foods. But that's why in our challenge, we really like to follow that up with fasting, because we don't want people to just stay there forever and then, not have a way to come back to kind of normal patterns of eating. And we want the patterns to come back. Like, for example, people will end up on 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, or even an alternate day fast kind of a pattern. So that's how I like to see it. The adaptations can be indigestion and nausea. So you need to kind of pay attention to that. Lethargy. So anything that people will go through in a typical keto adaptation, it's basically the same process, but it can be a little bit more severe. One thing, some people, it's a detox. So this is a detox protocol. So when you're going through detox, sometimes your body doesn't feel great. Sometimes it can get worse before it gets better. And so sometimes some of their issues can actually flare up a little bit before the healing comes. So if they're in a crisis with joint pain, then sometimes that'll come up a little bit before it comes back down. So I've heard people say, gosh, do at least 90 days. That's what Sean Baker will say. I feel the same way. So, and I think a 90-day would be great. I mean, I much prefer people even try it for 6 months if they could. Mm-hmm. So definitely reach out for support. There's so many groups on Facebook and on Instagram, and because that adaptation can be a real bugger, exhaustion. You can just feel so tired. And so you probably want to look at using some salt, some extra salt when you're transitioning. That will help that transition a lot. So just to keep that going, to make sure you're eating enough, those are the big ones right there. And to just give it some time, because it just takes a little while. I like to think about it. Every cell in your body is turning over. And so I've been carnivore for 2.5 years. Most of my cells are carnivore by now, right? Because they all turn over at different rates.
Right.
And so, but you think about, the lining of your gut, I mean, that turns over very quickly. You think about, your organs and your bones, and they're all restructuring. And so what we're doing with carnivore is we're giving it the correct component parts. We're giving it the nuts and bolts that it needs to rebuild and make something totally new and totally strong that is ancestrally correct. And so I definitely have heard people, compare it to driving a Yugo or like a little cheapy Hyundai or a Ferrari. And so we're rebuilding that engine, right? Okay. And we're making it so strong. And oftentimes there can be weight gain and fat loss. So the bones get stronger, the muscles get stronger, like the components that are supposed supposed to be bigger, better, stronger, get that way, and the fat starts coming down. And so I really think that on carnivore, me at 150 pounds on carnivore is a different body than 150 pounds not.
Sure.
And so we do see that. We do see sometimes that since the body's getting denser and stronger and more healthy, and that we will sometimes see the scale go up and the sizes and the shape like really trim up and go down.
Yeah, I love I think somebody on one of our last calls was talking about the waist going in, you know, and that's a sign of hormonal healing, which is definitely something I've experienced at different times when I've been very good about being on carnivore. That's where I tend to notice it first.
Isn't it amazing?
It is. Yeah, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with the group here?
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it. So to me, your nutritional health is your self-care. It's worth your mental health. It helps you to feel good and form boundaries in your life and to show up in the world in the way that you want to show up and you choose to show up. And so when you're choosing to do something different, you're sending messages to yourself that I matter. And so that's been my journey with it, is me choosing, like, I choose a ribeye, you know, but it just messages the whole body, and it just helps you to understand your value and your worth, and that what you literally eat is so, so important. It affects everything, and you're worth the time and effort and money and preparation and, you know, whatever goes into it. Like, you're worth that process, and your success and your health and your longevity is worth that process.
And I love that everything is connected: mind, body, spirit, soul. You know, it's all connected. And when you're focusing on improving one area, you naturally want to improve the other areas too.
It's synergistic,
well.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time today. I totally want to refer anyone who wants to dig deeper into carnivore to look up Steak and Butter Gang. And Emily is one of the coaches on there. We've got some amazing coaches, and just the members that are in the group they're there because they want healing, and they will help you on your journey too. So that is my thanks to you, Emily, for coming on today.
Hey there, Editing Holly coming to you. So if you have more interest in a carnivore diet lifestyle, do look up the Steak and Butter Gang. They have a ton of support. They are nutritional coaches, and I can also offer you one-on-one individual support. I do not have a nutritional certificate, but I am definitely an accountability coach, and I can help you. I can give you more information about carnivore and all that fun stuff. So I would love to be a part of your journey, either individually or alongside the Steak and Butter Gang. I am not a doctor. I am not a certified coach or nutritionist, so I cannot give you advice as to what you should do about your diet. I'm just simply offering you insight as to what I have chosen to do with my lifestyle. And in different future videos, I will get deeper into how carnivore lifestyle has actually improved my life. And this is why I am choosing to remain, for the most part, a carnivore. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you all, and I hope you are all appreciative of your blessings in life. Take care, and God bless.